So what do you think I should talk about tonight? Any ideas? What do you think I should talk about tonight? You. Yeah.
Me?
What do you think I should talk about?
How about addictions and treatment and detaching people from their own recovery?
Excellent.
Well, what'd you say? I like people who pay attention to information, you know what I mean? That's good. That's good. I might talk about, well, I had been thinking about an alternative presentation because you had heard, Jimmy Buffett fell over and got
He fell off the stage, yeah.
unconscious, so I thought perhaps I would just sing Jimmy Buffett songs instead. Down in Margaret, no? Well, let's vote. How many people in this room are associated with the PHS community? Could you raise your hand? What percentage is that? About, I don't know, half? Raise your hand one more time. About more than half? A half? How many people have a personal, if you don't mind saying, could be a private matter. How many people here have a personal kind of addiction issue? Raise your hand. Uh-huh.
Say so.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Same hands.
Well, as you see, I want to ask you some questions too, because that's just the kind of guy I am, but I don't want you to misinterpret my asking you questions. I don't want you to become unruly and feel like that I'm giving up control here. I mean, how many egomaniacs can you have talking at one time? And I'm the designated egomaniac tonight, okay? So if I call on you and you raise your hand, please be brief, just in the interest of allowing anybody else to throw in their 2 cents worth. Now, you think that's fair? Don't raise your hand if you can't be brief, if you know what I'm saying. You all understand each other? You're on top of this. All right, I thought maybe I'd ask 10 questions, and we'd all try and answer them. Because, why am I going to ask you what you think? Why am I going to ask you what you think?
Might know something.
Yeah. Well, you certainly will have an opinion. It's not like really people come and they say, tell me what addiction is. Do you really think many people, especially if they work in the field or they have a problem, it's not like they, gee, I never thought what addiction is. I'll go and he'll tell me what addiction, that's not going to happen, is it? So we might as well elicit from you what your views of addiction are, in part so that people can see the range of views about it, and then I'll give my 2 cents worth. Take it or leave it. But, we'll survey people. So let's start with the basics. What is addiction? What's addiction? Anybody got an opinion that they want to share?
Yeah, like a subconscious, uncontrollable craving. Or you can be conscious about it too, but subconscious about it. Yeah,
It's a subconscious craving. What if you really want to get laid? Is that an addiction? That's a craving, isn't
I
it?
guess it could be.
Well, that doesn't make it an addiction. The fact that you have a real strong urge to do something does it. People sometimes have really strong urges. Sometimes you're really hungry. So, buddy, thanks, but I don't think that makes it. Loss of control. Okay, what do you think addiction is?
I think it's an inability to control the behavior that ends up, that you become guilty and end up doing things you really shouldn't do.
Well, that loss of control, huh? That's a big one, huh? So you think addicted people are just kind of roaming out there out of control of their impulses and something makes them, they can't help themselves, huh? Any other opinions?
Anxiety management.
Well, okay, it's a sideline. That's a purpose people have for using substances. Well, is everybody who uses tranquilizers an addict? Every person who uses tranquilizers? What happens if they only get nervous like before an exam and they use it once a month? That's so trivial a definition of addiction, it's useless. Anybody who ever took a tranquilizer? No? You don't mind me being so frank, do you? What about you? What are you laughing about? What's addiction?
Oh, I don't want to get the
What do you think addiction is? You had an idea before you came in this room. What do you think addiction is?
repetitive use of the substance.
I think addiction is living that if some is good, more is better.
That's like a phrase. That's not an addiction.
No, it is.
Come on, boy, I'm disappointed, frankly.
Addiction is alert.
You know, I'm going to go back to the original plan. Da 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 Margaritaville. La la la. Because really, what do you think?
I think addiction is anything you do to the point where you start having negative outcomes associated with that.
What happens if you complain to your wife all the time and she really gets pissed off at you, so you have negative outcomes? Is that an addiction?
Well, if you do it often enough and you want that result, I think.
What would make it an addiction? Lady back there in the green. What would make your bitching at your wife in a way that pisses her off? What would make that an addiction?
Pull up the 45.
Huh?
When you can't stop. Habitual.
What's that?
Habitual.
Well, obviously there's a repetitive element. Well, here's what I think addiction is. And frankly, you'll get your chance, buddy. Don't get depressed. We got a long night. A long night. An addiction is an involvement in which people become engrossed on some regular basis that has an increasingly negative impact on their life. I don't know if I'll repeat exactly the same words. Addiction is an engrossing involvement that people turn to because it satisfies certain fundamental needs, but which nonetheless has a negative, increasingly negative impact on their life. Notice two things about my definition. How does my definition compare to the loss of control definition? How's my definition different from loss of control? Lady there with the scarf, yeah.
Because they're almost, it's a higher priority, maybe, they're choosing it. They're not, they haven't lost control so that they have to do it.
What did I say? Thank you. What did I say?
Your definition doesn't include loss of control.
It has something that's sort of a little bit different than loss of control.
Addiction actually means moving towards.
People get engrossed in something because they're seeking some kind of an experience or feeling. It's motivated behavior.
It means moving
You look
towards.
discontented, buddy. Did you have something bad to eat tonight?
Oh, big time. I couldn't believe it. It was caviar.
You know, you should never have a fish and pork burrito at the same time. buddy. That's a little wisdom. Addiction, I'm saying, is a motivated behavior. People are seeking something from an addiction. That's very different from a loss of control model, don't you think? How would that affect how I deal with an addict compared to somebody who believes that addiction is a loss of control? How would I approach them differently than somebody who thinks that way? What would they say to an addict? What would I say to an addict?
I think you'd be less judgmental.
What's that?
I think you would be less judgmental.
Yes.
Patriarchal.
What would my first statement, what kind of thing would I say to an addict?
What are you seeking?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
I would ask a question. I would say something like, well, what is an addiction? What do you get with, why do you drink? What do you feel like when you drink? What's your experience like? I would delve into their experience because I believe that experience is informative. Now, if you believe it's some loss of control, an accident or some biological sideline, you wouldn't ask that question. That question would be meaningless to you to ask. You would say, well, I know why they are, and you'd have a tendency to make a statement. Your statement would be something like, perhaps, I know why you're addicted to alcohol. You can't control your reaction to it. Perhaps it's genetic. You would tell the person why they're addicted. So I have a whole different concept of addiction. Yes?
I think with what you're saying is true, because what I don't like, and I'm not saying anything against Alcoholics Anonymous, but they say you're powerless. I think that's bullshit. Because
we're going to get there, buddy.
Okay.
Time. You know, it's like when you go out with a girl for dinner, you know, first you have some little wine, flowers, you know what I'm saying?